5 or 6 years ago, somebody said, Diane, you should be on LinkedIn. It's a professional networking site. I went like you all probably did. Yeah, all right, fine. So I filled out a profile, joined it, said, okay, didn't do much else. I got a message. The LinkedIn, you've got mail system on LinkedIn. Hey, saw your profile, would like to offer you a job. What? Wow, okay, cool. Wasn't even remotely what I was interested in, but it got me thinking. Okay, this is a passive job. Wasn't looking for a job, don't want a job, but wow, if you're gonna offer me a job, and especially if it's one I'm really interested in, I certainly wanna know about it. So it started me thinking, all right, maybe I need to do more with this LinkedIn profile. So I kind of beefed up my profile, did a little bit more work on it. Lo and behold, got another job offer. Once again, it wasn't something I was really interested in or an area that I wanted to work in, but it was like, okay, light went on. This is a viable place to be. So I really started beefing up my connections. I started teaching LinkedIn, and I start to spread that and say, wow, I've had a third job offer, one that I was actually very interested in, but it was asked me to move out of state. I wasn't prepared to do that at the time. I've connected with them since, and there's no job openings now. But at the time, I wasn't ready to move. But it was something that I was interested in. So out of those three, there was one very viable job opportunity. And again, it was all passive on my part. I was not looking for a job. Could you imagine if I started to be really serious about job hunting? LinkedIn is quite frankly, how many of you ever heard of monster.com? Big job board, right? LinkedIn is actually what I'm hearing, and again, some people say no, some people say yes. It's like statistics, you just make them up on the spot. Some people have said LinkedIn is becoming the new monster.com. A lot of companies will accept your application for a job right on LinkedIn. A lot of HR, as a standard procedure now, will Google you. Trust me, they Google you. Hopefully, if you're looking for a professional position, you have a LinkedIn profile, that's the first thing they see. Because trust me, they're seeing your Facebook page. Which just leads to the question we all know, I shouldn't say we because that's offensive. Everybody knows, right, that you don't put drunken pictures of yourself on Facebook, right? My niece did. She's in college, Boston University, first year. She's in a beer bong. God love her. Posted it, Facebook, tagged herself, no less. I said, oh, what are you doing? You got to take it down. She goes, oh, no, it's fine. I took it down. Well, you know, it's still on the internet. It doesn't go away, ever. What you put on the internet now will be there in 10 years. I am so thankful that there was no such thing as the internet when I was young. I'd still be hiding in a cave somewhere, because wow. So, not appropriate for LinkedIn. Be very careful, because trust me, if you're looking for a job, they will Google you, and they will see your Facebook profile, they'll see your Instagram, they will see anything you've ever put out there, especially if your name's attached to it. So LinkedIn is a professional network. So I see a couple of people, I'm going to pick on you all three right here in front, appropriately dressed for professional network. LinkedIn, think of career fair, trade show, business-to-business opportunity. It's appropriate attire, business attire, as well as appropriate business demeanor, which means, I read this one, so it's helped me out a lot. Facebook is a bar. I know not all of you are old enough to go to a bar, but I'm sure you've got a pretty good idea of what it is, right? So you go to a bar, you have a beer, you hang out with your friends. That's kind of what Facebook is. Kind of catching up, having a couple of drinks, right? LinkedIn is a trade show. It is a career fair. It is a place where you're going to act professionally, dress professionally, behave professionally, and share professional stories. I'm not going to go to a career fair going, oh, I got so wasted last night, man. Oh my God, I still can't find my car keys. Not appropriate for a career fair, not appropriate for LinkedIn. And then Twitter. How many of y'all are on Twitter? Does everybody still have a Facebook page? Yeah, most people do. And then Twitter, again, the way it was explained to me, Twitter is a cocktail party. You walk into a cocktail party and there's 100 people. And you're kind of hearing all these bits and pieces of conversation. Oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, hey, how you doing? But you're not really talking for a very long period of time, depending if it's what kind of a cocktail party. But that's kind of how it was explained to me. And that's a good explanation. So the biggest thing, if you take nothing away at all from this, except for the simple fact, it is professional. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means, but it's a professional network. Now, 90 of the Fortune 100 companies use LinkedIn's corporate talent solutions to find future hires. Now what this means to you, if you want to work for a Fortune 100 company, not a Fortune 500 company, which we will talk about, they use the corporate talent solutions, which means they're using LinkedIn primarily for all of their hires. If you want to get hired by a Fortune 100 company, you need to be on LinkedIn. And you need to have a decent profile, which, again, we'll talk about. Okay, so some statistics. They're about a year old. 200 million members in January of 2013 on LinkedIn. 74 million of them are in the United States. India is actually the fastest growing demographic country from LinkedIn because they just opened up about a year and a half ago. 2 new members sign up every second. So every second, 2 new members log in and sign up on LinkedIn. It's huge. Higher education is the 3rd most represented industry. A lot of, you go to career fairs, you've got people, UNL, who do career counseling. They're on LinkedIn, they're helping you find groups and jobs and stuff. There are 1 million LinkedIn groups, which we'll talk about and why you care and why that's important to you. How many of you are in marketing? Marketing majors have taken marketing classes? Okay. Marketers consider LinkedIn 277%, almost 300% more effective in generating leads than any other social media platform. And you know why? Because 4 out of 5 LinkedIn members drive business decisions. You're dealing with the people who make the buy decision. Do you want to buy this? Oh, I can't tell you I'm the secretary. I can't tell you that is not my decision. On LinkedIn, 4 out of 5 are the decision makers. And out of the Fortune 500 companies, all Fortune 500 companies have somebody on LinkedIn. 499 of them are represented by CEOs, CFOs, executive directors, or higher. So once again, you are dealing with the top person in the company. You're not, now don't get me wrong, I used to be a secretary. Secretaries are very important. Never piss off a secretary, I'll tell you right now for free, because they'll block you every chance they get if they don't like you. If you gotta go through the secretary to get to the top person, it's gonna take you a little bit longer. You're on LinkedIn, you can connect with them. You can skip the secretary and go right to them. Still don't make them angry, because they will get back at you one way or the other. All right, does that make sense? And as we go, I'm telling you, I'm a little informal, so if you have any questions, shout them out, raise your hand. Yay, hey, you, Diane. Okay, we're going to go just really quickly over some definitions. Connections, just like friends on Facebook, right? You all have friends. Connections are the same thing, but they're professional. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't connect with your mother or your father or your brother or your uncle or whoever if it is appropriate. My mom's retired. She's not on LinkedIn. I'm not going to ask her to get on LinkedIn. It's not that big of a deal. Now, where she used to work, I would have probably connected with her because she worked in Lincoln Public Schools. She knew a lot of people. She'd been there for 25 years. She would have been a valuable connection for me, but not now. So think about it. Connections are LinkedIn people from your professional network. Now, a lion, L-I-O-N, doesn't happen quite as often as it used to be. When LinkedIn first started, being a lion was a badge of honor. A lion was a LinkedIn open networker. These people have over 10,000 connections. I have almost 700, and it's unmanageable, practically unmanageable. A LinkedIn open networker, they basically will be open to networking with anybody. LinkedIn really does have a philosophy of you should know the people you network with, and know the people you connect with, because it is about personal relationships. LinkedIn takes, how many of you ever been to a networking event? Somebody's going somewhere this afternoon. You've been to a networking event, you're, having your cheese and crackers and wine or whatever. LinkedIn allows you to take your offline networking online. So when you're at a networking thing this afternoon, collect some business cards, come back, get on LinkedIn, look them up. If they have a LinkedIn profile, send them a connection request, and we'll talk about that too. So that's what LinkedIn does. It allows you to take your offline, put it online. Now, you may get asked by a lion, they're not around quite as much, but the thing to think about, yes, they have lots of connections, 10,000 connections, and you're thinking, whoa, that's 10,000 people I don't have access to, but if I connect with this person, I know 10,000 people. The problem then becomes, okay, so Jared, you're the lion, and I'm going to ask you, can you introduce me to Alex? I want to sell her some widgets. And, Jared, you've got to have to say to me, well, yeah, Diane, I'd be glad to, but I don't actually know Alex. I've never actually met her just because she's one of my 10,000 connections. There is no personal connection between lions and their connections. So it doesn't do you as much good as you think it does. However, the upside is, quite frankly, it extends your network. So it's up to you. Again, you don't see them quite as much as you're used to, but you might. So just keep it in mind. It's a personal decision. I would say to start off with, I would tend to avoid anybody that's a lion because you're not going to get much bang for your buck from them. And then a post, they call it an update now, an opportunity to let people know what you're doing in your world of work. So, think Facebook, but professionally. So on Facebook, I may put, oh, God, it's Friday, I'm going to go hit the bars and get trashed, and hey, I'll meet you at whatever. I don't know what the cool bars are anymore. So, cool. Yeah, we're not going to put that on LinkedIn. That's not appropriate for LinkedIn. I put something on LinkedIn a little bit earlier about, oh, I'm very excited to be teaching UNL students about LinkedIn today. That's appropriate. Tells people what I'm doing, gets me known out there as a person who talk to about LinkedIn, which extends my reach and extends my level of expertise. That is what you want to do on LinkedIn. You want to be known as the person, as the go-to person in whatever your field is. Or you want to be known as the inquisitive student looking to learn more about your particular field. So that is some of the quick definitions. Update rather than post. I think they just changed that, or, well, not too terribly long ago. All right. Once again, as students, this isn't going to be a huge issue for you, but it may become an issue for you. Use your personal email address, not your work one. Now, I assume everybody here has a UNL big red email address, right? Because don't you have to be a UNL student now? Okay. How many of you don't have any UNL? Oh, this is the most I've ever had. All right. So y'all have a personal email, Yahoo, Gmail. Does anybody use AOL anymore? Is that still around? Okay. You have one of those. Use your personal email address for your LinkedIn profile. You're going to go get a real job someday, and you're going to work for, I don't know, Dell, right? You're going to get a Dell email. Do not change your email. This is your LinkedIn profile. This is not your company's LinkedIn profile. You can use your company email as a secondary, but never use it as your first one. Little story. There was a bank, I don't know, vice president, I believe she was, parted ways. I don't think it was very amicable. She left. Next day, she was gone. Boom. Next day, they hired somebody new, took the guy's picture, loaded the picture up into her profile, and changed the name. Well, she sued. She said, well, wait a minute. That's my profile. You can't do that. Well, she lost, and she lost for two reasons. One, quite frankly, bigger than the other one. But one of the first reasons she lost for was she used her company email, which implies that that profile belongs to the company. Second reason, and the more stupider one in my opinion, is the fact that her secretary was doing all the work anyway. So yes, hello, she hadn't even worked for her profile. But always use your personal email address for this one. Again, my personal email address is Yahoo. That's the one I've got. My secondary one is my southeast.edu. Just in case Yahoo implodes, it's always nice to have a secondary email just in case. I actually have 5 to choose from, so half the time I don't remember if I'm coming or going. Okay, we are not shadow puppets. We don't do business with shadow puppets. We do business with people. So you need a picture. Now, I'll tell you, you don't need to go out and get a professional headshot. But it needs to be a decent picture, not you drunk at the frat party with the lampshade on your head, right? Not a picture of your puppies. Not a picture of, your cutesy whatever. I don't want to know what you're taking pictures of that are cutesy. It needs to be a professional picture. Now, professional for you all could be you go to a wedding and you're all dressed up and you look really nice and you got a picture of you and some friends hanging out and you look really good. Take that picture, cut everybody else out, crop it so it's just your face, put that up there. That's fine. If you're going to go and take a picture, you go back to your room or your house tonight and you're like, oh man, I need a picture for my LinkedIn profile. Couple of quick tips. No t-shirts, so no, Husker t-shirts. Tie, dresses, polo shirt at the very least. Something with a collar is better than nothing at all. And then get your picture and put it up there. Again, it does not have to be professional, especially as a student. Most people get that. But put a picture of somebody up there. People do business with people. We don't do business with businesses, and we certainly don't do business with shadow puppets. However, having said that, I will tell you that I've taught LinkedIn for a couple of years, and I taught somebody 3 years ago in a LinkedIn class, and she still has a shadow puppet up. So I call her every now and then, go, what the heck, are you Shadowland? So you don't have to, but it is one of the first easiest steps you can do. It will upgrade your profile tremendously. So, picture. Oh, and when you start your own business, don't use your logo for your profile picture. Again, it might be the most perfect logo in the world, but it is not you. I'm not doing business with your logo. I'm not doing business with your business even. I'm doing business with you as a person. And a lot of people don't get it, but that's what social media is about. Maybe y'all get it. A lot of people in my generation don't get it. Social media is about people. It is about extending your offline connections and bringing them online. So that's what this is. Okay, profile tips. And I'm going to try to make sure we get it so I can bring up my profile and we'll go through it really quick. Easiest thing is fill it out completely. Feels a little overwhelming sometimes when you first start and you go, if you have a resume, you can actually upload your resume and it'll take it all, and that's fine. It's not terribly complicated. 10 minutes a day is a good thing. Don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to sit, it's not a cram. Don't cram for your finals. Do 10 minutes a day. Okay, 10 minutes, set the timer. I'm going to work on this today. I'm going to work on my summary. I'm going to get my jobs in there. I'm going to do whatever it is. 10 minutes. Or what I found that works sometimes better for people, 20 minutes a week. Take 10 minutes, work on your profile, take another 10 minutes, and find your connections. Expand your network. Because you do have to work at that a little bit, especially to get started. Read the groups. Pay attention to it. So I'd say 20 minutes is probably the best way. If you can manage to figure out how you can get 30 minutes doing it, then do it that way. 30 minutes is probably better. Start, though, small, is what I'm saying. Fill out your profile completely. If you don't have it filled out completely right away, get started. At least put something up there. Again, as students, you all can get away with a lot more. Now, they have changed it on the profile, and we'll look at it when I pull mine up. There's a place, because they realized LinkedIn was not really catering for students when they first started. They're doing a lot better job on that now, because not a lot of college students have work experience. Now, I did connect with somebody, and his job title is sandwich artist, and he works at Subway. I actually thought that was kind of an innovative idea, but we all know what that means. He makes sandwiches, right? But it's better than, fry cook. I don't know. And that's okay, because that's the only job he's got. So he puts it up there. It at least shows you're employable and shows you've managed to stay employed, even if it is sandwich artist. So put up whatever job you've got. And then the other thing you can do, if you're working on a particular big project, you can post that up there as well. There's a place in your profile. I was looking for it earlier and I couldn't find it, so we'll see if I can find it this time. And then the other thing is LinkedIn really does want you to be successful. And they will prod you. They will ask you questions. Oh, did you put this up there? Oh, did you ever do this? Or, oh, you haven't filled this part out completely. They'll ask you questions. It can get a little annoying, actually, because I'm done. My profile's been done for years, and every now and then I still get, well, Diane, tell us what the secretary, I skip it. But they are very helpful. They want you to be successful. So they're going to bet on you. Now, one of the other reasons you're going to make sure your profile is completely filled out is it makes it more searchable. More companies will be interested in it. Really easy, I should say over there. Create a customized URL. It's really easy to do. It's right on your profile. You click the button and it says create. Now, this all stays the same. LinkedIn.com in whatever. This is what changes. Right now, if you've created a profile, it's 295067543321 blah, whatever it says, right? You can't tell me that number. Now I can search for you and I can find you, but if you wanted to send an email, somebody contacted you about a job and they're like, oh, well, can you send me your resume? Well, gee, I've got a LinkedIn profile. Can I send you the link? It's much easier and much more professional looking to send this link than it is the other one. Once again, LinkedIn will walk you through it. You click the button and it will say, okay, what do you want to use for your personal URL? Not many Diane Siefkeses. So I got D. Siefkes. My poor nephew, who was like 10 at the time, is just hosed. His name is Dale. He's not going to be D. Siefkes. He's going to have to be Dale Siefkes. If your name is John Smith, I'm sorry, it's taken. Look, be inventive. But again, Puppy Lover 1 is not going to be an appropriate URL for your LinkedIn account. Do something with your name. If it's John Smith 2010, John Smith 1999, whatever it is you want. But you can create that yourself. Really easy to do. It adds that other level, extra level of professionalism to what you've got there. Now, LinkedIn is pretty adamant that you only connect with people you know, at least to start with. Always a very good thing to keep in mind. I hope you all will connect with me because we all know each other. I'm not going to go around and shake everybody's hand and meet you personally, but you can connect with me. That means you have access to all of my connections. If at any time in the future you have a question about LinkedIn or if you think I can help you in some way, please send me a note. So you want to get to at least 20. You want to make them viable connections. It's not as hard as you think. If you ever worked anywhere, ask them, oh, are you on LinkedIn? Your professors, are you on LinkedIn? Are you on LinkedIn? If they're not on LinkedIn, try not to roll your eyes, because I do. Really? I can't believe you're not on LinkedIn yet. Ask them, oh, okay, great, whatever. If they say they are, okay, fine, I'm going to send you a connection request. You don't have to do that because they'll get one, but sometimes it's nice, especially when you're starting, especially for professors, because I think they get inundated. I mean, Deb's probably got, I don't know how many student connections she's got now. So she gets a lot. So it's always just nice to ask them if they're already on LinkedIn, because if you send them a LinkedIn request and they're not on LinkedIn, they get this kind of email that says, oh, Jared says you should join LinkedIn, which is not really what you're saying, but that's what LinkedIn wants them to do, so it kind of couches it a little bit differently. So ask them. Now, once you get to that point, I think I was probably at 500 before I started accepting people's invitations from people I didn't know. I don't do a lot of it. I actually go and look at their profile and I go, okay, how do I, it shows you, how do I know this person? So we'll have 4 connections in common or whatever it is. And I'll look at that and go, okay, well, it makes sense. Especially if they didn't make it a personal invitation, which we will talk about right now. Invitations. The generic LinkedIn standard is, I'd like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn, and then it's got your name. That's the generic standard. It's adequate. But when you're first starting, your best bet is to say, hi Diane, this is what y'all can say. Hi Diane, you taught the LinkedIn session for Deb at 3:30 in Burnett. Great job. You don't have to put the great job in. I'd like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. One sentence before that last sentence. That's all you need. It just helps make people remember who you are. So you're at a networking event. You've got these business cards, and you're like, okay. Oh, Johann Sebastian Bach. Okay, wonderful. You're going to send him a LinkedIn connection request, an invitation, and you're going to say, Mr. Bach, we met last night at speed networking for whatever it was, an association, an organization. I'd like to add you to my personal connection on LinkedIn. Just a friendly reminder of where you met them, how you know them. Now, those are for people you know. You can ask people you don't know to connect. In particular, if you're in a specific industry, IT, technology, if that's your special and that's where you want to go and you want to connect with Bill Gates, send him an invitation, a connection request. Mr. Gates, I'm a student at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and I am very interested in the technology field. Please add me to your connections list. And I actually have heard that he will do that. So, you are now connected with Bill Gates. So people will be coming to you, going, oh my God, you know Bill Gates, I want to meet Bill Gates. So if there's somebody in your area of expertise or the area that you want to work in, find out who those movers and shakers are. Don't stalk them, but you can certainly request a connection, find out what groups they belong to, and connect with them that way. It's going to take you a lot further than trying to cold call them or filling out resumes and just spamming everybody. So you can do people you don't know, but just make sure you give them a reason to connect with you. Why do they care? Why do they want to connect with you? And it could be something, quite frankly, as simple as, it is my field of expertise, I'm currently in school, like to connect with you to further my education. Something like that. People love that kind of stuff. All right. And again, though, personal invitation. Okay, now comes the fun part. Recommendations. How many of you have ever done references? Had to have a job reference or a reference to move into an apartment or those kind of things. Familiar with the concept? When LinkedIn first started, recommendations was their big thing. You needed to get, I think it was 3 recommendations to have your profile to be considered complete. They don't really do it as much as they used to do it anymore because they do that stupid endorsement thing, which I will talk about in a minute, and I'll try not to swear because she's videotaping me. But it's still, in my opinion, one of the best ways to up your profile. Because you go and you say, hi, Alex, you're my boss, we work together, you said these wonderful glowing things about me last week, would you write me a recommendation on LinkedIn? That's really hard to do. Really hard to do. But it's going to serve you well because she's going to say, well, of course, Diane, you are way too cool, awesome to work with, of course I'm going to write you a recommendation. And she'll write the recommendation and she'll put it on LinkedIn. Now, she has to be on LinkedIn in order for that recommendation to show up on LinkedIn. But if you've got somebody, Alex will say, well, I'm not really on LinkedIn. Well, you know what, Alex, that's great. Would you still mind writing me a recommendation anyway? And you're going to scan it, you're going to save it in your computer or wherever, and then someday when she sees the light and she gets on LinkedIn, you're going to say, oh, Alex, let's get connected. And then you're going to, give it a little while, and you're going to say, Alex, you wrote this wonderful recommendation for me. Would you mind if you put it up on LinkedIn? No, not a problem. If you do that for a couple, for every job you've done, for every association event, if you've done any kind of volunteer work, get recommendations from those people too. Because as students, that's where you're going to build your credibility. It's not just the job. Being a sandwich artist is not going to get you a lot of job offers. But being a sandwich artist who also believes in Turtles of America and freeing the oppressed turtles of the world, wow, and he's done this event and he's raised $1 million. That kid is going to get a job because he's shown he's successful at something. Not just a sandwich artist, but he's successful at a project. So that's the important thing with recommendations. Now, endorsement is the newest thing that LinkedIn did, I don't know, 6 months ago, probably even a year. They did it because recommendations are hard. Endorsements are easy. You kind of self-select 9 or 10 areas of expertise. And supposedly, LinkedIn will have them pop up and people can endorse you for those areas. The problem is they don't pop up. And LinkedIn just throws up random stuff. I've been endorsed for resume writing. Now, I haven't written a resume in 20 years. So probably not one of my strong suits. If you call me or you message me and say, Diane, could you help me write your resume? No, I can't. But I know somebody who can. So the endorsements, and it's all over a lot of blogs, a lot of people have said to LinkedIn, you really need to change the way you do this. Because endorsements just don't mean as much as they used to, or that they could. So my first recommendation is, if somebody asked you for a recommendation, don't give a recommendation unless you really want to put your name on the line. Because that's exactly what you're doing. Same thing with endorsements. It's not quite as written in stone. But if you're going to endorse me, don't endorse me for a resume. I've never written a resume for you. You don't know what kind of work I write. I mean, I could suck. I'm an English major, so I better not suck. But it could be a horrible resume. If you're going to endorse me for LinkedIn or social media, something you have actual experience with. So endorsements are still there. Hopefully LinkedIn will get the picture and they'll change it. But as of right now, the big thing is don't endorse somebody. And don't give a blanket endorsement. It'll come up with a picture of somebody, and it'll say, oh, does Abe know this, that, this, and that? Oh, yeah, and you endorse them all. Well, maybe one of them is sandwich artist. You don't know that he makes a good sandwich, or if you do, we don't want to know. So you don't endorse people for things that you don't know. Now, your recommendations will show up on your profile page, which, again, is going to really impress the future people, HR people, when you're looking for a job. Now, groups. There are over 1 million groups on LinkedIn. And why is this important to you, you ask? I see you all asking that. Why do I care? Groups is where you can go to establish yourself as an expert or establish yourself as somebody who is interested in a specific topic. Now, I will give you a bit of advice. I belong to 23 groups. That's about 20 too many, really. But I was another group, and I joined a bunch of groups. So be selective, again, especially to start. If you're interested in oppressed turtles, go find the group, because trust me, there probably is a group or an association that deals with oppressed turtles. If you're in IT or technology, there are boatloads. Entrepreneurs, there are tons of entrepreneur groups in LinkedIn. These groups are just where you can go. So you're in this group, it's an Entrepreneurs of Lincoln group. And you have a question, you've got homework, and you need to interview somebody who is an entrepreneur about how they got started. Go to the group. Hi, I'm a student at UNL. I need to interview an entrepreneur. Would anybody here be willing to spend 5 minutes with me? I think you'd be amazed at the response you get. You don't have to make any cold calls. People are going to go, oh yeah, I'd be glad to help you out. Oh, glad to help you out. And guess what? Then you've got another connection. And they can help you somewhere down the road, or you can help them. So that's what the importance of groups are. Then once you're actually out and working in your field, you can establish yourself as an expert. So I go to groups, and there's somebody, I have a question about social media or LinkedIn for small business, and I'll answer it. Oh, so whether they're the person I answered the question for or just somebody who read that post, They're going to say, well, that Diane, she's the one. I have a question about LinkedIn. I better call Diane because she's the one who knows. Because I am now an expert in the field. So people do read that and they do remember. For students, like I said, groups are great to go and find information, market research, job research. If you're really serious about getting a job in a specific field, especially those tight fields, the fields that are like, oh, jobs are hard to come by, set yourself up now. Get to those groups, ask intelligent questions, make intelligent comments on articles. This is not where you want to spam them and go, hey, cool, totally awesome, dude. Again, what are we doing? Professional image, right? Look for groups you're interested in, associations, I don't know, Future Farmers of America, whatever it is, mentors, big brothers, big sisters. I think there's a teammates group if that's what you're into. Fraternities and sororities. Anybody here in a fraternity or sorority? Okay. They should have a group, and if they don't, you should create a group for them. Because you're in Lincoln, Nebraska, but most, if I understand the Greek system, never was in the Greek system, aren't fraternities and sororities in different colleges throughout the country? And isn't that one of the strengths that they sell you? Is like, oh, hey, you've got connections here in Lincoln, but you've also got connections in Washington, D.C. or Portland, Oregon, right? That is what a group can do for you. If you join that group, you get connections throughout the state, throughout the world, depending on what happens. So that is one thing you want to do with your groups. The other group that I always recommend to people is Linked Local in Lincoln. Or if you live in Denver, it's Linked Local in Denver. Every major city has this group, and it is basically an online networking group. When I work for SCC, and I've published jobs, I've looked for instructors and teachers and all kinds of things. This is the group I normally post in. And I've been successful and posted 4 jobs, and I've gotten 4 people from this group for this job. It's a great, again, it's an online networking tool, so it's not something you have to go to every night. You can just do online networking. They'll ask you a question, make a comment. They'll have an article, share it. Just kind of get involved, do, dip your toes in. So it's Linked Local in Lincoln. Now if you move and you move to Omaha, they've also got one, Linked Local in Omaha, Denver, Portland, wherever it is. Before I go too much further, let me also just say one of the other biggest caveats, again, going along with the professionalism, no political comments. Keep your politics to yourself. LinkedIn is professional. You don't discuss politics with your professional colleagues till you've known them quite a bit, unless you want to alienate half the people you work with, or take the chance of alienating half the people you work with. Try to avoid hot button in LinkedIn in particular, especially as a student starting out. I do know somebody who posted hot political, and he's, people stopped following him because, not that they didn't agree with him, but LinkedIn is not the appropriate place for political statements. So don't go political on it, all right? Here's some resources for you. LinkedIn.com is obviously the main page. That's where you go to log in and create your profile. Blog.linkedin is a blog maintained by LinkedIn. They kind of tell you what's going on. The learn.linkedin.com. If you have any questions, you're going through your profile and you're like, oh no, Diane didn't cover this, or I didn't really understand what she said about this. You go there, it's a search function, you type it in. Or you can just go to Google, because Google knows everything, right? You just type it into Google and you'd be amazed at the answers you'll get. 9 times out of 10, they take you back to here. And then this is my public profile. You should just be able to search Diane Siefkes, because there's not many Diane Siefkeses. What somebody pointed out to me in the last class, she says, well, I'm having a hard time connecting with you because I don't know you, and it says I have to put in your email address to do that. And I said, okay, there's a little cheat for this one. You go in and you put classmate, and it'll say, I know we're not classmates, truly. But I also went to University of Nebraska, Lincoln. You are at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. LinkedIn will see that as a connection, and it'll go, oh, okay, fine. So if it says, oh, how do you know her? Put UNL, unless you've been to SCC, and then you can put that one as well, too. So that's just a cheat, a way to get around the system. So I'm going to try now to bring up my profile, but I'm having a hard time because I can't. The screens here aren't showing up, so we'll see what happens. This is what your profile looks like to somebody. Oh, no, I logged in as myself. So here's me. Picture, share an update rather than a post. Then it's got this thing that's called LinkedIn Today. It's their newspaper. They'll recommend articles for you based on what your interests are. I'm really into social media, so it's got Twitter and Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg has some advice for Twitter IPO. Big thing that you're going to want to pay attention to is this right here, because it says people you may know. LinkedIn wants you to make connections. They really do. So they are going to make recommendations that people you may know or should know based on your profile and based on their profile, based on where you work, based on where you went to school 30 years ago, trust me. I don't actually know any of these people. But I have a friend who lives in Fairbury and we're connected. I actually have done business with Lester Electrical and, oh, I do know Candy, I lied. So, this is what it does. And this really, I would tell you, people from my generation or a little older, go a little older, get a little freaked out because what they don't realize, and I don't know if you all realize it, everything you do on your computer, on the internet, is saved. Those little Google search bot, what are they called, spider bots? They go, and they go, oh, Diane, oh yeah, it's Fairbury, okay, Lincoln, oh, she was in the Marines, oh, they do that, and they keep it all together, and they go, oh, well, maybe this is what it is. They don't care about you personally, but it collects information. They're information collectors. And it looks at that, and it says, oh, you guys should connect, oh, you guys should connect. May not make any sense, but it makes sense to those little spider bots. So every time you type in a keyword, a search, it remembers that. And it's going to look for that. It's also going to make as many connections as you can. So look at that. You don't have to make connections with any of those people, but it is something that they're going to keep pulling up. And then, of course, over here, that's how LinkedIn makes money. It's their ads. I will also tell you, you can pay to upgrade your LinkedIn account. You pay to upgrade for a couple of reasons. If you are a business, serious job seeker, you pay to upgrade because then you get your profile gets pushed to the top of a bunch. You can unlock your full list to see who's actually viewed your profile, which again, if you're looking for a job, you want to know that somebody in your interest has looked at you so you can follow up with them. I don't because I'm cheap and I'm not looking for a job. So I go with the standard one. And again, I've had three people reach out to me for a job. So it's a great tool for that. Then you've got, these are all the updates that people put. Now, this is where I tell people is worth spending your time. See here, this first one, 10 people have new connections. Evelyn Bartlett connected to Kai Rosecrans, programmer at Information Analytics. Now, I don't actually know Kai, but I know Evelyn, and I'm going to look at that Kai's name, and I'm going to go, oh, Information Analytics, you know what? I sell widgets. Information Analytics buy widgets. Wouldn't that be great if I could meet Kai so I could sell her my widgets? So what am I going to do? I'm going to call Evelyn, or I'm going to send Evelyn a message, and I'm going to say, Evelyn, would you introduce me to Kai, please? Just like we talked about before. And Evelyn, of course, because she's a wonderful person, is going to go, oh, Diane, I'd love to introduce you. So that's how you get. So you always look to see what these people are doing, who they've connected with. So Andy connected to, oh, Kai is very busy today on LinkedIn. You can tell she's working on it, right? Carrie, sales and leasing agent, property manager. So you're going to kind of spend time on that. And then what you're going to do is Andrew likes this, well, Jablonski, so write that. Now if that is something, if I am in the health field or food and nutrition, I may want to comment, well, gee, Andy, thanks for sharing the article. I found it very interesting. The more you interact, the more people see your name, the more they're going to remember who you are. And then social media tips. You can share an article. I do a lot of article sharing. I don't do a lot of updates per se as to tell people what I'm doing, mostly because A, I think it's boring, and B, it doesn't really add any value to their life, which is what social media is about, adding value. So I do a lot of article sharing. So if you guys have been my LinkedIn, you'll see an article, Top 10 Tips of LinkedIn, What Not to Do on LinkedIn. So that's what that's all about. I like that they are conscious of credit card and student debt. Money mindset of Generation Z. I also teach a generations class, so I will come back and I'll read this article that Mark has shared, and I'll post something. Oh, gee, great article, Mark. Thank you so much for sharing that. So that's how you stay involved with your connections, and that's how you get your name out there. It doesn't have to be burdensome. A simple like, the little like, thumbs up, will be sufficient for most of it. And then on the side here, who's viewed your profile? Again, this is important if you're looking for a job. A lot of HR people, and I'm not sure if they have to pay for it or not, but they can make their profile anonymous. So when they're looking at your profile, it actually shows up with anonymous. A anonymous LinkedIn member looked at your profile. A lot of HR people do that because they don't want to be inundated with, oh, you looked at my profile, that means you're interested, so I'm going to send you 600 copies of my resume. They don't want that. They're just kind of doing some ground search for that. But it does show you that, so-and-so in Omaha looked at my profile. Now I'll look at that and go, oh yeah, I want to do business with him. I'll reach out to him and say, hey, I noticed that you looked at my profile. I hope that there's sometime we can do business in the future. I don't do it a lot because, again, I seem to get connections without having to work too hard. But if you unlock the full list, you pay LinkedIn Premium. And I think the cheapest one is $49.99 a month. But I'm honestly not sure how that would yes. And it can go as expensive as $199, big corporations. Because at that $199 level, it unlocks everything. So if I'm a salesperson and I'm working for, well, Dell probably, and I'm looking for not just employees, but I'm looking for the decision makers of these big companies that are going to buy my products, then I want to know about that, and I want to make a personal connection with them. And then here it tells you what your LinkedIn network is. So I find this interesting from the very simple standpoint of I have 672 connections, which links me to 5,161,299 people. So I am potentially linked to over 5 million people. Think about that for a second. 5 million people. Now again, I have 672. I can tell you I've gotten 20 just today because of the students. So I'm not a lion, but I'm also, depending on who you're looking for, maybe not going to be the best connection. But the only way you're going to figure that out if you're going to ask me, Diane, could you introduce me to Alex? Diane, could you introduce me to Jared? And I'll tell you, you know what, they were a student, or hey, we've done business with, my brother did business with them, and that's how we got connected. So I'll tell you, it's still a warm connection. It's just not going to be as strong as, oh yeah, Jared's my best bud, we hang out, I'd be glad to introduce you. So you got to take that into account as well. But again, it's 5 million people. 5 million people. And then 7,556 new people in my network since yesterday. Which again, how many people join? 2 people join every second. LinkedIn is growing leaps and bounds. And then, jobs you may be interested in. This first one is always sponsored, which means they've paid money to have LinkedIn have it be the first job that comes up. And then the rest of these. And guess how they put these up here? It is not by hit or miss. I do social media, I do online marketing. Oh look, social media digital marketing manager, vice president, social media, director of software development. Oh, community, Wyndham Recovery Community Center. I work for a community college. It looks at my profile, it looks at my interests, looks what I've posted, it looks what I've done, and it says, oh, we think you're going to be interested in this. And then you can get hired faster with the Job Seeker Premium. It also will have groups you may like. So LinkedIn is really going to work with you to make sure that you're successful. Okay? Anybody have any questions, comments? All right, I'm going to get you out of here, but we're going to do one more thing I want you to see. All right, well, let's talk about groups first. Here's the groups that I belong to. The top 3 or 4 are probably the ones I'm most active in. I have most of these have an email synopsis sent to me because you can't stay active in these. But if you're in a group, if you get to this many, pick 2 or 3 or even 4 and then stay relatively involved with them because that's how you're going to get the bang for your buck. You don't get it if you just keep joining. It's not the best way to work it. Linked Local in Lincoln is one of them that I do a lot with. ASTD, not quite so much. So groups. And you're going to join groups with your associations, school activities, that kind of stuff. I don't know. UNL has an alumni group that I don't do a lot with, but it is out there. And I know I've joined it because UNL kept sending me emails to tell me to do that. And then companies. This is a relatively new feature, probably about a year and a half ago. All companies have I call it a placer page on LinkedIn. It's literally just a page that had their company name. UNL had this page. UNL, University of Nebraska-Lincoln was all it said. About a year and a half ago, they made them live, which means as a company, I can now post updates. Now, why would this be important? Anybody? Job opening. But if I'm a person posting for a company, it's just me. But if I'm a company posting as a company, if Dell posts something, it's going to mean a lot more than Diane, who works at Dell, is going to post something. And a lot of companies, LinkedIn doesn't like you to post your job openings in updates. because that's where they make their money. They want you to pay for it, which you can do. So that is why find a company and follow them. I recommend following LinkedIn as a company because you'll get all the updates and things that are going on new. I follow Dell because Dell was one of the first companies that took social media from a business aspect and made it successful. They used Facebook to their advantage. They used Twitter to their advantage. They really opened the doors for a lot of other companies who were like, oh, well, gee, if they do it, we certainly can do it. So they're kind of an innovator in the social media world. Well, they were. I don't know. Everybody's catching up now. And then some other companies, you know, Google, because why wouldn't you follow Google, depending on what you're doing? They don't do much, which is the other thing I find very interesting. To me, having a company page and being able to post as a company is huge. Because now again, you've got your reaches extended to everybody who wants to follow your company. Why would you not take advantage of posting as your company? Whether it's a job posting, hey, we're rolling out the new iPhone 5 1600, ESPN the Ocho, whatever it is, you're going to make all these updates. You can post it as a company. Adds credibility to you. And again, it gets it out there so people can see it. So it really does, you know, I'm gobsmacked if these companies don't do a better job. Of course, I do the SCC one, and it doesn't post a lot because that's a whole other issue. So that is the companies. These are who I'm following. You can search companies. There's lots of things you can do with LinkedIn. My biggest suggestion is just get started. Don't freak out. Do 10 minutes a day or 20 minutes, 30 minutes a week. Get something up there. Please do connect with me. And if you get to that point where you're like, gee, could you take a look at my profile? I'd be glad to do that. Students, if I've taught you, you get a free look. Otherwise, I do that as a consulting fee. So send me a message on LinkedIn and say, hey, Diane, could you take a look at my profile? Tell me what I need. Real quickly, though, let's talk about the summary. You're like, Diane, you said you'd get us out of here early. This is where, see, this is a stupid endorsement thing. Ugh. Okay, right here, all you got to do is hit edit, and you can edit your URL. This is your summary. This is the hardest part for most people to write. I'm going to tell you, it is a summary about you. Your LinkedIn profile is about you. You will notice my profile doesn't say, at Southeast Community College, I'm the online community coordinator, and I work with email marketing and online social media systems for the Southeast Community College Continuing Education Program. That's what I do, but that's not what it's about. That's not what I'm about. It's not who I am. Because again, people do business with people. So, my positivity and adaptability are my two greatest strengths. Sounds a little saccharine now that I read it aloud. And I'll change this. I try to change this once a year. I actually go in and change a few things in it once a month. Spider bots, the Google spider bots, love things that are new. If you change it just a few words every month, they think, oh, new content, yay! And so it pops higher up in your profile search. If somebody does it, how many of you have ever done a Google search for yourself? Okay, if you haven't, go do it and see what pops up first. Should hopefully be your LinkedIn profile, unless you have a Google Plus page. If you're a Google Plus page, guess what? Google likes Google, so your Google Plus page might pop first. Kind of depends how active you are. So your profile, your summary is going to be something that's going to be, and again, start with just a couple of sentences. It doesn't have to be something. My name's Jared. I am a engineering major at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I love puppies and sunsets. No, don't put that. This is not a dating site, so you want to make it as professional as possible, okay? So come up with something. I'm a big believer in the strengths finders. So I put my strengths up there. Marcus Buckingham came up with something called standout. Didn't quite catch on as much as strengths, but I did take it. And then because I'm in continuing education and I believe in lifelong learning, these are some of the things that I've done that I take as continuing education classes. You can personalize this to fit you. If you get to this, you get a degree, right? That's going to go in later. But if you have to get a certification, so you're now a CRFP or whatever it is, those initials, MD, whatever those things are, especially insurance agents, you get all those designates. This is where you'd want to put that, and this is where you'd want to explain what they are. The thing that as a student that you're really going to want to interest is going to be a little further down. Oh, well, let's talk about this really quickly. It won't be a big issue for you all now, but it may be. How far back do you go for your job experience, and what kind of jobs do I put on my LinkedIn profile? If you did dog walking in junior high, I'd leave that off. If you're a sandwich artist at Subway, leave it on. It shows, again, you're employable, you've managed to maintain employment for a certain period of time. And then once you get to other jobs, you can always take them off. I had this discussion with numerous people. You will see I was United States Marine Corps, and I joined in November of 1981. Now, anybody can do the math and go, well, okay, if she joined in 1981, she was probably 18, which means she's 50? Oh my God. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people because I'm here to tell you, ageism, sexism, and racism is still alive and well in the United States. Not as bad as it used to be, but it is. So, they always say, well, Diane, aren't you worried that because you're 50, people won't hire you? And my statement is, quite frankly, I don't want to work for somebody who's got that kind of a prejudice. And quite frankly, I think the fact that I was a Marine, A, I'm proud of that, and B, tells you a little bit about who I am and what I stand for, I think. So that's why I leave it on there. But I was also loss prevention manager at Kmart. That's not up there. Because it's not appropriate, and I don't think it's important, it doesn't define who I am. So you've got some leeway in the jobs you put in. Current standard is either the last 3 or the last 10 years, depending on what you've been doing. The big thing that you all want to fill out, and this is a new one, this is what LinkedIn did for students. Volunteer experience and causes. You do a lot of volunteer work, you know, oppressed turtles of the world, escape, or whatever it is. You put on a 5K, you organized it, you found sponsors, you raised $1 million. That's what you want to put up there. Because that shows to potential employees, wow, A, they believe in something besides themselves. C, they can organize things and look at their money raisers. Wow, that is really important. You want to put that stuff up there. This allows you to do it. Internships. It's not paid, but you can still put it up as an experience. Does all that make sense? Yes, Diane, it makes sense. Okay, wonderful. Yes, sir.
So do not put internships and work experience in?
You can put it in work experience, or you can put it here. I would actually put it in work experience, just because it's unpaid doesn't mean it's not work experience. But definitely include it. Does everybody understand LinkedIn a little bit better? Gonna go and work on it right away, right? I can see you're all just champing at the bit. All right, I'm done. Have a good one.